All right, guys, I've been insanely busy handling deadlines and edits, and I'm still backed up a bit, but I'm just itching to get some videos out on all the lenses I have right now. Vazen, however you want to call them, set me out. They're 40mm. Again, you guys have seen the, wait, I can't show this filter on here. Vazen has also sent me out the 28mm, and I've been loving this thing. This video right now is basically just showing the difference between the Sirui 35mm and the Vazen 40mm. It's not gonna be anything fancy. We're gonna go through a lot of footage because I just want to show you guys like what the characteristics and differences are. As you see, it's kind of big. The Vazen 40mm and the Sirui 35mm. Biggest difference between these two is that the Sirui, if you're at a minimum focus distance, your stretch is more of like a 1.25 stretch. So you're not going to get a lot of anamorphic kind of vibes out of that. The Vazen 40mm, no matter where you're focused at, you have a 1.8 stretch. So you get that anamorphic look out of it. Now, my only gripe with this lens is it's huge. I'm sometimes on gigs where I can only operate out of a single backpack because I have to hike around for 15 hours and chase down my subject and everything. So it's an amazing lens, but it's very heavy and really big. And so that would kind of limit me on certain gigs. This thing, I had to hack it. I have anamorphics on the budget, Tito's insert in here, and that thing totally like saves this lens and makes it way better. I'm starting to learn that I just do a 1.25 stretch on it, and if I'm doing infinity focus, then I do 1.33 stretch. But again, that insert really helps with that. So that gets kind of annoying to use with this, but this lens is a little bit cleaner than this guy. But with that said, this does have more of like your iconic anamorphic look that we're used to, where it's a little bit softer and there's a little bit more chromatic aberrations when it's wide open. So personally, I like it. The first issue, just straight off the bat, I don't know if the 24 and 28 it's going to have the same issue, but we'll find out. I'm assuming it does. You see this is the Vazen 40mm. And you see we have a perfect circle here, and this is at minimum focus. It's extremely hard to focus it. I bought a 7-inch monitor because when you do a 2x D squeeze or a 1.8 D squeeze and you're on a 5-inch monitor, you literally have like an inch of viewable space. And so a 7-inch monitor really helps that. But still, when you're wide open on this lens, it's really hard to see where your focus is at just because it's a little bit more of a softer lens. So again, this is the Vazen, and then you'll see our issue right here. This is the Sirui. You see our circle, our Sirui's overstretching it, and we're at a 1.33x D squeeze. But you do see it is a cleaner, sharper lens. It's a little more saturated. The Vazen looks a little bit more organic. But so you'll see right here, it's 1.33. So if I change to 1.25, you see then our circle looks perfect. I know personally I like shooting on wider lenses, and I try to get as close as possible as I can to my subject. I would mostly be rocking this lens at minimum focus distance. The only kind of like infinity shots I do is for like master shots. So this is more of a 1.25x stretch. But you see the bokeh in the background with Tito's insert in there. It really helps it hold up to the Vazen's 1.8x stretch. So you see this is the Vazen 40mm right here. This is us wide open. Our bottle looks normal. And then we go to the Sirui's. All of a sudden the bottle looks a little bit too wide. So once again, I'm gonna go to 2.5, and you see now we have a proper D stretch. You see it looks way more similar now. So these two shots are just showing you what it looks like when both lenses are wide open. Again, the Sirui has that insert. So you see they look pretty similar. And then now let's go and open them up. I believe this is at f8. You see the Vazen still has that like waterfall looking bokeh. And then the Sirui's just kind of looks like a normal lens. So this is the cool thing about the Vazens, is they're an actual like true 100% anamorphic lens. There's no gimmicks to them. Now I did see that Vazen has a new 50mm, and it looks the same size as the 28mm. So I'm super intrigued with that lens. So let me just go and drive this point in even more. So what you'll see is the Sirui shot looks more fat. Again, I'm at minimal focus right here. I'm focusing on this pillar of wood right here. And here's the Vazens. The Sirui's, once again, we have to go and correct the stretch because we're at minimum focus. So it affects the whole shot. So now you see they're more accurate now. The rest of these shots after this are corrected for the 1.25. Now, I just want to show you guys with Tito's insert, it only works on wider apertures. So you'll see, here's the Vazen at f2.8. Here's the Sirui at f2.8. It's bounced back and forth. You see the Sirui still kind of holding up there. Here's the Vazen at f4. Sirui at f4. You start seeing we're losing a little bit of the anamorphic look on the Sirui already. Now let's do the Sirui 5.6, Vazen 5.6. You see we're still getting that waterfall bokeh in the background, and on the Siruis, it's almost starting to look a little bit normal there. And now here's the Sirui f8 and the Vazen f8. So this is what I love about anamorphic, is since we're getting that stretch, we're still getting a lot of separation even at f8. So you close down your aperture on anamorphic and you're still going to get separation. And then you see on the Sirui, it just starts looking like a normal lens pretty much. All we're pretty much getting at this point from the Sirui is a 1.25 D squeeze because I'm at minimum focus. Our next tests are the flares. A lot of people hate on the Sirui flares, but I will say that the Vazen's 40mm and the Sirui's 35mm flares are kind of similar in color, where they're a little bit too oversaturated for my taste, but the Vazen's flares look way more natural and organic still. So I'll just play this for you guys. So you see this is the Vazen 40mm. So you see those flares, they look good to me, you know? And the Sirui's just a little bit too like pinpointed. Granted, my focus is off on here, but that doesn't really matter. And then again, let's go look at the Vazens. You just see right off the bat, while the Vazens are bold, they do look way more natural. Again, there's the Vazens. It looks pretty. I love that flare, honestly. Again, the blue's too strong for my taste, but, and then here's the Sirui's. Here's just a couple more tests. So this is the Sigma 18 to 35. So you just see, I hate spherical at this point now. I freaking love anamorphic. Like, this just looks boring to me. And then anamorphic is just, there's way more texture. I like the separation on it. So right here, this is the Vazen, this is the Sirui. Vazen, Sirui. I'll do a proper review of the Vazens together, and we'll go over the D-Squeeze. I already talked about this in a previous video though, so I feel like I don't have to cover it again right now. Here's another flare test though. This is the Sirui. I think you could tell off the bat, like, which one is which, you know? Like, that flare doesn't look bad at all, but it's just once you go to the Vazen, the flares are just as bold and blue, but they just look more natural, the way that they're flaring out. And then this is the Vazen 28mm. I just wanted to add this in here because the Vazen 28mm has my favorite flares. They're more amber, and they look like, look at that. Look at the oval flares in there and everything. It just looks, I don't know. I love this 28mm. This Sirui is a great intro into anamorphics if you put that insert in there. I really do love this lens because it's sharp, it's clean. If you try to stay away from flares, it's not an issue at all. The 24mm I'm realizing is really easy to flare out, so we'll see about that. But if you can just afford to get one anamorphic lens and you're on a hardcore budget, I recommend just this 35mm. You get a lot of wide angle type of stuff. You can also get a lot of close in type of stuff with it. It's just like a great all around lens. Now, if you want a proper anamorphic look, this Vazen is going to do the job for you. Just be aware, you have to do a 2x stretch, so you need a 7-inch monitor. If you like shooting wide open like I do, it's going to be a little bit soft. But as we just saw, I need to learn that I'm going to close down more. Like, I need to stop favoring being wide open. And so you can still get that separation on there. And when you close it down, again, it's a little bit more easier to use your focus tools. The issue is when you're de-stretching it that much, the camera and the monitor are kind of confused because they can't really tell what's in focus because everything's being squished almost by 2 times. So I can slap this on the Komodo real quick if you guys want to see what that looks like. I didn't go over sharpness too much. I thought I did, but I don't know, maybe I didn't import that footage. The Sirui is sharper. Like, that lens is actually insanely sharp. Again, the Vazen is soft when it's wide open, but once you close it down, it does sharpen up a little bit more. So this is the Komodo with the Vazen 40mm, and you see that's the big old 7-inch monitor, right? And so this is a beefy lens. This gets really top heavy at this point. If I ran this for a whole day, I'm gonna need an easy rig for this. There's no way I'm gonna run this handheld like that. That's our front element there. Again, guys, not a super technical video. I guess the whole point of this is really to show with the Siruis, if you're someone like me who likes to shoot with wide angle lenses and trying to get up close to your subjects, you're going to be at a 125 stretch on the Sirui. Though it is a sharper lens, and I actually love the saturation this lens gets. I have no idea what they're doing with that, but it's 1,000 Kelvin too warm. So you have to drop your Kelvin by 1,000 in post, and then you'll get this cool saturated look out of it. It's pretty cool. So it's give and takes to each lens, but I think my solution would be the 50mm that Vazen just came out with. I don't know if that's going to be able to go to RF, but we'll find out. I don't know. And that, again, that's the point of this whole video is both of these lenses are RF mount. I got this from MTF Services. Everyone asked me about it. It's just Google MTF Services. I did have to pay like an extra $300 or $400 though for their conversion. And I'm pissed off because this is $1,000 lens. This is the 24mm. After getting it through them for the conversion, it was 14. I was like, well, they're the only person that's doing the conversion. On top of that, in order for it to get delivered, I had to pay a random freaking import tax. Never had to pay import tax when I bought from like a bigger company. So just be aware, if you get an RF mount Sirui for NTF Services, they don't disclose this, but you might have to pay import taxes on it. So again, should be $1,000 lens. Cost me $1,600 to get. That sucks. Yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Again, not super technical, but yeah, what is.